In a world where change is the only constant, Mo Shamil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Title Agents Podcast. I am your host, Mo Shamil, CEO of Alltech National Title. Today, I'm really thrilled to have a special guest, best-selling author Bob Burg, who co-authored the international bestseller, The Go-Giver. Bob's philosophy has transformed the way entrepreneurs and service professionals approach success by shifting the focus from getting to giving. In this episode, we unpack the 5 laws of stratospheric success and how they apply to building a values-driven business in any industry, including ours. Welcome, Bob, to the show.
Hey, Mo, it's so great to be with you. Heard fantastic things about you from our mutual friend, Kevin Thatcher.
He was a great guest in a prior episode we had, and he has what a great story.
Yeah.
Bob, I cannot thank you enough for your generosity of time, and we're thrilled to have you, like a best-selling author in our show. Welcome to the show again.
I'm absolutely honored, Mo. Thank you for having me.
Before we start the show, I always like to hear your story, how you get started, your kind of little 2-3 minutes biography, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I started out as a broadcaster, first in radio doing sports and then television news for a very small network affiliate, ABC affiliate in the Midwestern United States. Worked my way up to the late night news anchorship, but I really wasn't very good. I certainly wasn't a journal. I could read the news, but
you have the voice, at least. You have the voice.
Yeah, I had the pipes, yeah, as they say in the biz. Actually, what's funny is I grew up in the Boston area, and I had a horrible Boston accent. I mean, I was Pac the Ka, and so I had to really, really work hard to lose that, and every so often it still comes back. But no, after a while, I wasn't in the news business anymore. I wasn't really very good, and I knew it wasn't going to be my life's work. And so I like to say I graduated into sales. Now, my challenge was that I had no real formal sales training experience ever in my life. And so I went out there and really floundered for the first, few months. And, I'd knock on a lot of doors, I'd make a lot of calls, but I didn't know how to sell. I thought it was just you go out and you blah, 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 talking about your product or service and whatever. No. And so really discouraged one day, I go into a bookstore to look for something that would help. Now, this is 40 years ago. So back then, unless you knew about personal development, sales book, things like, you didn't know they existed. I certainly didn't. So I'm not sure what I actually went in there for, but I figured, there must be something. And I saw 2 books sticking out at me. One was by Zig Ziglar, and the other was by Tom Hopkins, How to Master the Art of Selling. And, 2 of the greats, the legends in our space, right? And so I got those books and I took them home. And I like to say I didn't read them. I devoured them. And I would just study night after night into the wee hours of the morning, and I would practice and I would drill and I'd rehearse and and within about 3 weeks, Mo, my sales began to go through the roof. Now, there was no real difference in me as a human being at that point from 3 weeks earlier, but I now had a methodology I could follow, a system, if you will. And I personally like to define a system, and this is just my definition, as the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and specific set of how-to principles. The key being predictability. If it's been proven that by doing A, you can get the desired results of B, then you know that all you need to do is A and continue to do A and continue to do A, and eventually you'd get the desired results of B. So that's what I did. Now, the neat thing was discovering that a big part of sales is the personal development aspect. Again, I didn't know about any of that. But in those books, they're telling me and that I should be reading How to Win Friends and Influence People and, the magic of thinking big and think and grow rich. And I'm getting now all these, back then it was cassette tape programs, right? And I'm starting to go to conferences and again, reading books and all these and feeding my mind. And I began to realize that success is really, it's an inside job. Now it manifests itself outwardly, of course, but it begins in here in the head and works its way down to the heart, and you begin to become that person. And that was really a great discovery for me. So I just loved that. So, within a couple of years, I worked my way up to sales manager of another company I was with, and eventually started teaching others how to do what was working for me. And as they used to say on the Seinfeld episode, yada, yada, yada. Here we are now, 40 years later, whatever. And you and I are talking.
The late Jim Rohn said it best. It's like, don't wish things were better, but wish you were better.
I was thinking of Jim Rohn as I was mentioning some of those things, and he was such a great one for feeding your mind, right?
My favorite.
Heart. Yeah, and what's funny about Jim Rohn, well, just like with Zig and Tom Hopkins.
Zig is another one that's incredible.
Yeah, you could listen to them. And you could listen to them again and again and again. Say this, whether it's live or on tapes.
Never gets old.
Never gets old, and it's like you learn something new every time. So yeah, these are just people who had such a big influence on my life.
So let's start at the foundation. What is exactly the Go Giver philosophy? What inspired it?
Well, the philosophy itself, and again, these were written with John David Mann, who's a brilliant author and writer and a great entrepreneur in his day. And really what we would say, when we ask that question is it's simply understanding, as Joe learned in the story, that shifting your focus, and this is really where it all begins, shifting your focus from getting to giving. Now, when we say giving, Mo, in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others. Understanding that doing so is not only a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's the most financially profitable way as well. And not for any kind of, way out there, woo-woo, magical, mystical, just do good things and give and think. No, not at all. It's actually much more logical than that. It's that, when you're that person who can take your focus off of yourself and make it about others, serving others, discovering their needs, their wants, their desires, when you can make it not about you, but instead about helping them to solve their problems and their challenges, when it becomes not about you, but about helping to move them closer to happiness, people feel good about you. They feel great about you. They want to be a part of your life. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you when the time comes that they need your products or services. But what they really want to do as well is tell the world about you. They want to be, as Sam, one of the mentors in the story, called it, your personal walking ambassador. So that's really, that's really the premise, if you will.
One of the core concepts of the Go Giver, but I just listened to it for a second or third time. The book is incredible. It's an easy listen, easy read, and it's a must read. To all our listeners, this is like a really must read book, and there's no way I can read it once. If I can read it 2, 3, 4 times, it's incredible.
Thank you.
One of the concepts in the Go Giver is the law of value.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the law and how a professional, whether in sales, service, or title, can apply to create an exceptional customer experience?
Yeah. So the law of value, that's sort of the foundational principle of the 5. So there are the laws of, value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. The law of value, Mo, says that your true worth, in the business sense, of course, your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, when you first hear this, it's a bit counterintuitive. Give more in value than I take in payment. I mean, that sounds all nicey nice and everything, but it also sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy. Right? Give more in value than I take in payment. So we simply have to understand the difference between price and value. Price is a dollar figure. It's a dollar amount. It's finite. It is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings so much worth or value to another person that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be glad they did, while you also make a very healthy profit. Let's look at an example first outside of the title profession, and then we'll bring it back in. Let's say you hire an accountant to do your taxes, and she charges you, we'll just name a round figure, $1,000, okay, to do both your business and personal. Charges $1,000. That's her fee. Literally, it's the price, $1,000. But what value does she provide you that makes it so worthwhile? Well, through her years of experience and training, her desire to get to know you and what you're looking to accomplish, getting to know your business and its inner workings, she's able to save you $5,000 in taxes. She also saves you countless hours of time, which allows you to be more productive doing what you do best. And she also provides you and your family with the security and the peace of mind of knowing it was done correctly.
Yeah.
So, she's really given you well over $5,000 in value in exchange for $1,000 fee or price. She gave you more in value than she took in payment. So
that peace of mind is priceless.
Priceless, exactly. Right. So you come away, a winner, and so does she, because it was worth it to her to trade or lease, if you will, her expertise, her time, her energy for that $1,000 fee, right? And so, so it's interesting in any a free market based exchange. There should always be two profits: the buyer profits or the customer profits, and the seller profits, because each of them come away better off afterwards than they were beforehand. Right. And so that's the ultimate win-win. Everybody comes away, a winner. As a title company, what benefit do you provide the realtor? Now, obviously, the realtor's not the end user, but they're still kind of the customer in a sense, right? They're your partner. So what benefit, do they receive from you? You navigate them through the complex title searches, right? The closing process, the legal expertise. You make things more efficient, accurate, and stress-free. You're taking a lot off their plate so that they can... Peace of mind, right? Yeah. So that they can serve their clients, even better. Right. And so the money that's exchanged is, if everybody comes away a winner, and of course the client, the end user does, the buyer does, the realtor does, and the title company does. So again, it's making sure that you create that value that's always worth more than the money you're receiving, while the money you receive allows you to make a very healthy profit.
So the next law it's fascinating, and it's the law of compensation teaches that our income is determined by how many people we serve and how well we serve them.
Well, yeah. I mean, you think about it. The title company representative who does one transaction. Well, that's great. They provided great value, but they're probably not going to earn a whole lot of income just by doing one a year. So it's also how many people you serve, as well as how well you serve them.
And the example you give in the book is the software, the teacher became a software company, and how the compensation, the teacher serves 30, 40 kids, while the company, the education software serves like tens of thousands of people or millions of people.
Exactly. And that's what it's all about. What's it called? Scaling, right? But there are many ways to do that, but that's important. Yeah. Because, you can be providing a lot of value and make a good income, and that's fine. But to the degree you can scale that and serve more people with the value you're providing, that is going to increase your income. That's why we say, you combine, exceptional value, which is law number 1, and extended reach, law number 2. now you've got a very healthy financial situation.
So the next law is the law of influence, which focuses on putting other people's interests first.
Yeah.
That can sound counterintuitive in a competitive business landscape. How does this principle actually lead to greater success? The people that have an abundance mindset.
Well, yeah, and so you bring up a great point. I mean, when you say your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests for, again, what does that mean? I mean, so let's first clarify or qualify that when we say place other people's interests first, we certainly don't mean you should be anyone's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial, right? It simply, as Joe, the protege in the story, learned from several of the mentors, the golden rule of business, of sales, is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. Well, it turns out, Mo, and you know this, there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those know, like, and trust feelings toward you from others than by genuinely moving from that I focus or me focus to that other focus, looking to, as Sam, one of the mentors, told Joe, make your win all about the other person's win.
Absolutely. And the next law is the law of authenticity, which is very powerful, especially in industries built on trust. What does it mean to truly show up as your authentic self in a business, and how can professionals make sure they're doing that in a way that builds real connection?
Yeah. Because in the story, Deborah, who was the main mentor in this part of the story, she said that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they all are very, very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. But when you do, right, when you show up as yourself day after day, week after week, month after month, people not only feel good about you, they not only feel comfortable with you, Mo, they feel safe with you, right? Because they know who they're getting.
Yeah.
And, it's it's so important. And I think sometimes, and I've kind of noticed this since the days of of social media, that authenticity has almost taken on a new meaning. It's almost like as though authenticity means no boundaries, just say or do whatever you want and blah blah blah. And I've never agreed with that. That's not authenticity. That's being rude, or that's being whatever. No, I define authenticity as simply acting congruently with one's values. That's authenticity. And as long as you're doing that, I think you're, on the right track. So, it's really interesting too, because when people say authenticity and they'll say, well, this is the way I am, no, that's not it either. It means you use Jim Rohn's advice, get better.
Yep.
It's like the person who says, well, I have anger issues and I yell at people a lot, and if I were to act any differently, that wouldn't be authentic of me. No, it simply means this person has an authentic problem that they need to authentically work on in order to become a better, higher, more effective, authentic version of themselves.
So the final law, which I've struggled with in the past, and I struggle with sometimes, I love to give and I love to serve, is the law of receptivity. It's going to be tough for driven professionals. Why is it often so hard for high achievers to embrace receptivity, and how can they shift their mindset to allow it?
Yeah. And, Mo, this is something that a lot of people have an issue with, and I used to as well. And, it's very natural. And the reason why comes down to the messages we receive from the world around us. Most messages that society gives us from the time we're born, and whether we're talking about, upbringing, environment, and schooling, news media, television shows, movies, popular culture, cultural mores, social media, all the different things, the negative messages, my friend Randy Gage, you may know of Randy, he calls them anti-prosperity messages. And I think he's so right. And we hear them everywhere. And And you'd almost think that anybody who does well financially did it on the backs of others or through nefarious means. Or now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people in the world and people do yucky things. But no, by and large, if you look at the people who do really well consistently and sustainably, okay, no, these are people who had to have provided value to others. They had to touch the lives of many people. They had to place the other person's interest first, because nobody buys because we want them to. They buy because they believe it's in their best interest to do so. We've got to be authentic, and then we've got to be able to receive. But when we get so many awful, terrible anti-prosperity messages from the world around us, it's not that it stays in our conscious mind. That would be okay. It's that it goes into the unconscious. And we believe these messages without even knowing that's what we're doing. And so we push money away, or we sabotage our success, or and so that's why I believe studying, in that part of the story, we go into it a little bit, but it's a business parable. You don't get to go really deep into it. So that's why I suggest making a study. This is so important. So anyone watching this, listening to this, I hope they'll take me up on this. Make a study of prosperity. There are great teachers out there. People like Randy Gage, people like David Nagel, the late Bob Proctor, Sharon Lecter, wonderful. Ellen Rogan of Chicago, she's great. Lisa Leisa Peterson, Ken Honda. These people are, and there's many more, and I just feel badly mentioning those because there's others. But look for, seek these people out and read their blogs, watch their videos. Some of them have conferences, most of them have books, and make a daily study of prosperity, because all the anti-prosperity garbage comes in naturally. So we need to seek out the good, healthy, pro-prosperity messages.
Let's talk about mentorship. For someone looking to grow, what do you think makes a great mentor-mentee relationship? And what should people avoid when seeking out a mentor? And I'm a big believer in mentorship.
Me, I am too, Mo. I think mentorship can really, and I've been the beneficiary of such, I think it can cut a person's learning time by years. One of the, so really we can look for mentorship, obviously, when someone's in the same field as we are and they've reached a certain level and we'd like to be able to emulate them and learn from them, and that's fine. But it can also be someone who's just lived a successful life. And again, whether that's financially, physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, socially, relational, what have you, someone who, it depends really what we're looking for in terms of mentorship. I think in approaching a mentor, one kind of mistake that I see people making at times is they'll approach someone, and by the way, social media now or online, the internet gives us access to people we never would have been able to even talk to reach, right, in the old days, and now we can. And it's fine to ask anyone, but what they'll do a lot of times, they'll say is, I'm just starting a business, or I'm blah, 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 whatever, and I really need a mentor. Would you mentor me? The problem with asking like that, Mo, is first of all, if you're asking this person to mentor you, the chances are a whole lot of people are asking that person to mentor them. Yeah. So when you just say, I need a mentor, will you mentor me? And there's no relationship there, okay? It can come across as entitled. Plus, they have no reason to. They don't know you, and you haven't done anything to distinguish yourself and give them a reason. They only have so much time anyway. Even if they have great intent, they only have so much time to be able to help. Right? So, my suggestion would be to approach it maybe a little bit differently, and that would be to ask in such a way that you might say, and again, this could be through email, it could be through phone, it could be through in person, however you ask, it doesn't really matter, but it would come across more like, I know you're really busy, and so if this is not something you have time to do, or for whatever reason would rather not, I'll absolutely understand. I'm wondering if I could possibly ask you one or two very specific questions. Now, what have you done when asking that way? first, you've honored and respected the process. That it doesn't sound entitled. You're acknowledging it's a big ask. Okay. Second, you've given this person an out or back door. Rather than them feeling pressured or like you think they should be obligated, you've let them know you realize you're busy or for whatever reason they'd rather not. Absolutely, it's okay. Third, what you did is rather than just asking something general like picking their brain, which is another way of saying, hey, will you share 40 years of your wisdom with me, even though you don't know me from a hole in the wall and I don't even know what it is I want to know from you. Instead, you're saying, one or two very specific questions. So you're letting them know you're not going to waste their time, that you have an agenda in a good way in this case, that you have an agenda that, right? And this person's much more likely to take you seriously and not feel like their time and energy and everything is going to be there. So they'll usually say, sure, go ahead. How can I help you? Now, is everyone going to do that? No, but not everyone has to. But you're increasing the odds greatly that person will invest their time with you. Now, during the call, and the first thing I would suggest doing is make sure that, you totally search them online so you don't ask anything you could have found the answer to,
The homework, yeah.
Do your homework, exactly. Do your homework. And then make sure you don't take up much time. You ask those couple of questions. Thank them profusely and let them know that you will apply their wisdom right away. And would it be okay if from time to time I reach back out and just let you know how things, and they'll say, yeah, of course, please do. Okay. Now, once you leave the meeting, whether it's in person, on the phone, on Zoom, whatever, send a personalized handwritten note. Okay. Not a text, not an email, personalized handwritten note. And it just needs to say, dear so-and-so or hi so-and-so, thank you once again for taking time out of your busy schedule. Your wisdom is priceless, and I look forward to applying it right away. We'll keep in touch and let you know how things are progressing. Best regards. Sign your name. Put it in an envelope. Handwrite the name and address. Regular stamp, not a meter machine stamp, but a regular stamp or a commemorative stamp. Right. Send it to them that day. And again, it positions you as someone totally different.
Top of mind.
Yeah. And then what I would also do is suggest making a small donation. Doesn't have to be anything big, but a small donation to their favorite charity or cause, which again, you can find out online. And if for whatever reason you can't, you can ask their administrative assistant and make the donation in their name. It will get back to them. You're not doing it to kiss up or anything, but simply for them to just know that you appreciate them and that you are making an effort to give value, to them and so forth. So then, maybe you call 3 weeks later, maybe you have another conversation, and eventually over time, an ongoing mentor-protege relationship develops. But you know what, Mo? It might not. It might be one or two conversations, and it might be he or she introduces you to someone else. Or it might be you just meet someone else that way. But what happens is as you do this over time, you start to really find that, people who are there in your corner, and you develop this huge, sphere of influence of people. And of course, as you get successful, you start mentoring others, right? And so it's a great circle that,
It's forward.
Yeah.
So how can a go-giver mindset help professionals stand out in a saturated and highly commoditized market like title insurance?
Well, I think everything we do in this will help you stand out. We have within the law of value, John David Mann and I, in our second book, which was Go Givers Sell More. There are a number of books in the series. This is the only one that was not a parable. Go Givers Sell More. It was kind of a application guide to the go-giver. And when we talk about the law of value, we discussed 5 what we call elements of value, which is really the extrinsic value you provide. So remember, we're talking about the accountant and the title person, right? Title professional and the benefits of what they did. And those are great. But let's face it, every other accountant and every title professional can pretty much say the same thing. And, unless the prospective and you may do it better than the competitor, but unless the prospective customer or client knows this, they don't know this. And unless a prospective customer or client can distinguish between 2 or more providers, it's always going to come down to what? Who has the lowest price? And unless your last name is Walmart or Amazon.com, I guess, trying to make low price your unique selling proposition is not a productive way to do business.
Race to the bottom.
Right. It's exactly that. It's a race to the bottom. It's certainly not fun. It's not productive, and it isn't sustainable. Right. But that's the intrinsic value, which is important. But what distinguishes you is the extrinsic value. That's the value over and above that you bring. So the 5 elements of value we talk about, all which are excellence, consistency, attention, empathy, and appreciation, right, are all extrinsic. It's all those things that you can sum it up this way. When you do those 5 correctly, you make the other person feel good about themselves, about the situation, and about you.
So you have a series of Go-Giver books. Is it one of a Go-Giver leader?
Yeah, so that was
Lots to be there.
Hmm?
What's the concept? And that's next on my list to listen to. Is the Go?
Yeah, well, so many people ask because when we wrote the Go-Giver, although a lot of people utilize it for leadership, it really was written with the entrepreneur or sales professional in mind. So we just got a lot of response saying, okay, well, how does a corporate leader or an organizational leader or a small business leader or what have you, how do they use those principles? And that's why we wrote the Go-Giver Leader. And you know what? It still comes down to making the focus about others. Only in this case, you're placing the focus on those you lead. And again, it's told within a parable, and John David Mann did his usual brilliant job of putting it into a story that, but really it comes down to that same thing.
We're coming close to a wrap here. I've got 2 last questions that I ask every guest. One of them is, do you have a favorite quote?
Favorite quote. So let's go back to Zig Ziglar. And it's his, I think, most quoted quote, and it's the one that many people misquote, which I gotta say drives me nuts, but it's misquote. But the way it actually goes is, you can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want.
I love that. I wish you're gonna say that. That's perfect quote that aligns with the concept of Go-Giver.
Absolutely.
How about a favorite book that's not a Go-Giver book?
So I would say it would be a book called Living Untethered by Michael A. Singer. So he has
read that. It's incredible.
Well, so he has a few books out. The first was The Untethered Soul. Okay. Wonderful book. Fantastic book. His second book was The Surrender Experiment. Again, it was more of an autobiography. Great book. Learned a ton. But his third book, which not as many people know about.
I don't think I read that yet.
No, and please, I recommend it. So he just took it to a whole new level. It's called Living Untethered. Wow. And I am telling you, Mo, it is just, I made a study of it for like a year and a half.
I know exactly. It's so hard to just give in and let go. I can't wait to read it. And I've read the first 2 books, and he's an incredible soul.
Oh, my goodness, he is. And he's got some great videos out there and the whole thing. But yeah, what a magnificent teacher. But yeah, Living Untethered helped me cut through, like 67 years of, stuff that I didn't even realize at times was there that needed to be let go.
That's awesome, Bob. I can't thank you enough. Any last words to our audience?
No, I remember a mentor once said to me, Burg, if you want to make a lot of money in sales, he said, don't have making money as your target. Your target is serving others. Now, when you hit the target, he said, you'll get a reward, and that reward will come in the form of money. And you can do with that money whatever you choose. But never forget, he said, the money is simply the reward for hitting the target. It's not the target itself. Your target is serving others.
Hey, man, that's a wonderful. Bob, thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough for generosity of your time and most importantly, your wisdom.
My absolute pleasure, Mo. Keep up the great work you're doing, and thank you so much for having me with you.
My pleasure. That's a wrap on today's episode with Bob, a special guest, Bob Burg. If you found value in his message, and we know you did, be sure to check out his book, The Go-Giver. It's as I said, I can't really thank Bob for his wisdom enough. It's just an incredible book. Explore how the 5 laws can transform not just your business, but your mindset. Thanks again for tuning in to Title Agents podcast, and we'll see you next episode. Thank you.
In a world where change is the only constant, Mo Shamil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey